All about cooking, all about nutrition, and all about you. Enjoy the show. Today's show brought to you by the 30-Day Jumpstart Coaching Program. Uncover the personalized program that will get you the results you want. Today's show, a gluten-free cream of mushroom soup. Some of you might think, well, why is there gluten in cream of mushroom soup? If you've ever looked on the back of the label of a canned cream of mushroom soup, there's wheat in it, and it's used as a thickener to keep it nice and thick. So when you use it in casseroles, that it's a little meatier. Well, I'm going to give you a gluten-free version that's also pretty much dairy-free. Again, remember, in my world, butter is not dairy because the protein in dairy, which is the problem for our digestive tract, isn't in butter. There's no protein in butter. It's all fat. So the fat part's okay. So we're going to do this. And if you want to make it vegan, you can do that too. You can absolutely use vegetable stock instead of chicken stock. You can take, instead of butter, you can use olive oil, and you can still make a vegan, dairy-free cream of mushroom soup. But because of flavor, I'm going to use chicken stock because that's how I like it the best. Now, if you don't like cream of mushroom soup, you can use this whole. You don't need to blend it into a creamy soup. So however you slice it, it can be a mushroom soup that you will eat, whether it be gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, or vegetarian. So here we go. So first I'm going to cut up 2 small onions. You can use 1 large onion, or depending on how much you like onion, and I like onion, I'm going to use sort of a small one and a medium one. Now, because I'm going to blend this down, you can make big chunks. You don't have to cut it really fine. If you don't want to blend it down, then you're going to have to make a finer chop for your onions. Okay, next, for the fat source. Again, if you're doing vegan or vegetarian or completely non-dairy and you're not on the butter train with me, then I would use olive oil. But again, for taste, I'm going to use butter because everything's better with butter. So we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of butter. Again, I'm using pasture butter. It is grass-fed cows, organic butter. I'm going to put this on medium, and I'm gonna start to saute my onions. So as you can hear, my onions are starting to saute. Once they've been sauteing for about 5 minutes, we're gonna add the mushrooms in. So for those of you that don't like to cook, I always like to give you the easiest, simplest way to do things. And I really love cremini mushrooms, and Trader Joe's happens to make them already sliced in a prepackaged bag that you can literally rip off, open up, and dump into the soup. Now, I normally use in a bigger pot 3 bags of these sliced mushrooms per 2 onions and the chicken broth and the rest of the ingredients. But this is a little smaller pot, so today I'm only using 2. But depending if the size of your pot, you want to fill it with the mushrooms, and that might take 2 or 3 bags of mushrooms. Once you get the mushrooms in the pot, and you've got your onions sauteing, and now the mushrooms are sauteing, I'm going to add chicken broth. And again, I would prefer to use my own chicken broth, but I am out currently, so I'm going to use Trader Joe's organic, low-sodium chicken broth. And you're not going to use the whole thing, you're just going to bring it up to meet the mushrooms so that all the mushrooms are a little covered in the chicken broth, because again, I want to make this thick and creamy, this consistency. I don't want it to be too soupy. Now, if you're going to make this soup and not blend it down because you like mushroom soup, I would cut the mushrooms because you're going to make smaller pieces, and actually this is going to work. I'm going to put the whole thing in here. Okay, so I used the whole container of chicken broth. I used 2 bags of mushrooms, and I may, as these cook down, add more because, again, I want it to be dense and thick, just like cream of mushroom soup. But if you're not going to blend it, cut everything up and put in as much broth as you want. Make it as thick or thin as you want to. We are going to blend it down, and we are going to add our non-dairy, full-fat, yummy coconut cream to make it creamy. So once the mushrooms have cooked down in the chicken broth with the onions and the butter, we're going to add a secret ingredient, which is a splash of white wine. Now, I use Pinot Grigio or Chardonnay. Does it matter? Well, if you have a favorite white wine, I'm not a white wine drinker, I drink red. So to me, I just use whatever is available because I don't keep it on stock. So I'm probably gonna add about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of white wine. And then I'm going to add about 1/2 to a full can, depending on the creaminess that you want, of my coconut cream. So now I'm gonna stir this, and then I'm gonna check its consistency, and I'm gonna cook it down just a little bit longer. So the next key ingredient for our cream of mushroom soup, whether you're making it vegan or just vegetarian or dairy-free, is going to be thyme. So I'm gonna sprinkle in a little bit of thyme and continue to let this cook down. I'm gonna say that's about a teaspoon and a half of thyme. And again, you always can add more. And while that's cooking, I'm gonna also add a teaspoon to start a very fine Himalayan pink salt. It's got 84 minerals and trace elements in it. And then I'm gonna taste this to check its salt level. And I'm gonna continue to salt it for my taste or leave it where it is. I'm also gonna add some crushed black pepper. And again, get creative in the kitchen. Don't worry about every little measurement. You can just play, and you can always fix it if something happens. Okay. Perfect. Now, I am tasting it before I blend it because I'm the good wife, and I'm gonna take out some of this mushroom soup unblended for my husband who doesn't like blended soups. And then once I take some out, put it in a jar for him and put it in the refrigerator, I'm gonna blend the soup. The last step of our cream of mushroom soup would be to make it creamy and blend it. So I'm gonna stick my Cuisinart Smart Stick in the pot, and I'm gonna blend it until it's nice and creamy. Now, after you're done doing this, if you have more than you need, you can store some and even freeze it. I made it last week, and in case it's the holiday season and you want to try making one of those green bean casseroles with this soup, store it in the freezer and pull it out when you want to make the casserole, or if there's any other dish that you use cream of mushroom soup for.
The Fit to Love podcast show offers you 6 days a week of helpful content to achieve the happy life you deserve. Movement Mondays and Tasty Tuesdays are weekly videocasts, while Wellness Wednesdays, Thoughtful Thursdays, Freedom Fridays, and Sexy Saturdays are audio-only shows themed every week to address your holistic life and needs. If this show inspired you, we would love for you to share it and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us today. Head on over to fittolove.tv for recaps of every show, resources, and to join the community. That's FIT, the number 2, LOVE.tv. Have a fit and fabulous day.